Okay, good evening, everybody. This is a real different experience sitting here and talking. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, fine. Thank you. Wow. I'm just taking a moment to, take in the technology. It's just amazing what all can happen. Oh, thank you so much. All right. So I have an important duty as a moderator of this panel discussion called Break the Boundaries Bias. I'm from B, Women Inclusive in Technology. We are a group of women in Technopark trying to do different things that help women get more empowered, break their internal biases and whatever barriers they have through different projects. I have a great panel here, and I'd like to take a moment to just introduce all of them before we start the discussion. So I have Professor Elizabeth Shirley, the Dean Academics, Digital University Kerala. Thank you, ma'am, for being part of this discussion. Professor Raghu Raghavan, Professor from De Montfort University, UK. Sir, welcome. Ms. Tiffany Brar, she's a special educator, disability and gender activist, founder, Jyotirgamaya Foundation. She's also online because she can't be here in person because she's going to collect an award. And I'm really happy to have her here as well. Tiffany, are you there? Yeah, I think we'll.
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Tiffany.
Can you enable your video?
Can you enable your video, Tiffany? Is that possible?
I can try. I'm not so sure.
No problem. When it's time for you to speak, it will be great if you can have your video enabled.
Yeah, because I have very low bandwidth because I'm not. I'm out of station, so
Yes,
So I'll just enable it in the beginning, and then I'll. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Rajat Karnakaran, who is a corporate trainer, co-founder and CEO of ProBiz Knowledge Center. Thank you, sir, for being part of this panel discussion.
Thank you.
And Ms. Blessy Sumam, who is MHAT volunteer. Hi, Blessy.
Hi. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So, as a moderator, I would like to just quickly set a context of what we are talking about today. As the previous speaker, professor, spoke about, we are a society that have gone through many changes, and definitely women before us have fought many battles so that we can be where we are. Ma'am, Professor Celia Shana said, every generation is standing upon the shoulders of the previous generation. So you have lots more to achieve. But yet we have lots of boundaries, lots of barriers to break. Now, what are those boundaries? There are many of them, but we will cover a few of them specifically today. And the idea is to not just bring awareness. I think we are beyond the space of awareness, right? So awareness is the first step to understanding that there is a bias, but what do you do with that awareness? So what is the action that we can take? And how do we advocate that such that across the society, this bias is removed? So I'm talking about the 3 A's. There is awareness, there's action, and there's advocacy. So this is what we will be focusing on, hopefully, in the next 45 minutes. With the esteemed panelists, we'll explore cultural boundaries, mental wellness boundaries, and disabilities, and how they become boundaries, and how do we overcome those. These panelists are those who are actioning and advocating against these boundaries, and all of them are doing such wonderful work, and I'm really, really happy that we have a chance to listen to them, understand what they're doing, and take a page from their lives and hopefully implement it in our own. So I'll start with Rajat. Rajat, you are a mentor and a trainer. In the context of boundaries, how would you encourage girls, students, and women professionals to break through the cultural boundaries that impact them?
Hi, thank you, Aditi. Before I narrate, I mean, I have two stories to share. So before I narrate the stories of two women who influenced my life, I will try to connect, what you said or what you asked. I would love to thank you and Radhika ma'am for inviting me to share the dais with, or the platform, in fact, with those personalities who did remarkably, or rather exceedingly well. People like Tiffany and all, it's unparalleled. I mean, you cannot even match what they are doing and what they have done. I think Blessy is also on the same lines. Anyway, so rather exceedingly well in their domains and their spheres, and I mean, it's not easy, I'm sure, because that's why we are here to listen to them as well. So they balanced while walking through tight ropes. And also I would love to thank Women Inclusive in Technology members, all the well-wishers in the UK, and all beautiful souls gathered here. Good evening, and have a wonderful wish for your International Women's Day. So I will start with that. And for the younger generation, you said I could see few people over there and the university students. So my story is actually revolving around two personalities in two different eras, and they never thought there are a lot of boundaries, so they erased those boundaries, but they were aware that biases were there. Okay, so let's start this anthology with my mom, whom I call Mummy, and she is no more. This is the story of a lady who became a widow at the young age of 25 years and with 3 children. Okay, so this is early 70s. So mom was abroad at my dad's workplace, and in 1970, my dad passed away. And I was just 11 months old. Anyway, so due to a massive heart attack. And coming back to Trivandrum, we have a lot of things happening here. So shattered and confused. And soon mom started to realize the harsh realities of life, which is different from the Western culture, orchestrated by relatives, sometimes due to over concern, and many a time maybe jealousy or maybe something, neighbors, and you won't believe neighbors. Nowadays, we don't know who is staying next door. So at that time, and the society. So like in movies, we need to have some evil figures as well. Let's put some her own brothers, not all. An angry mom who thought that there's a problem with her horoscope, that's why she lost her husband. And 1 or 2 relatives from my dad's side, always having an eye on the assets and the bank balance. So finally, a few neighbors who was not comfortable of having a young widow next door. That's also, anyway, I don't want to go into details about that. So this is the setting in 1970. Things change, actually. That's what Aditi said. Now, we are in an advocacy state. So I should place on record that evolution didn't touch neighbors even today. Neighbors, even though we don't know who is staying next door, the neighbors work very hard and to find faults, and more powerful than CCTV networks. I just need to say that. So I'm not sure whether the audience could even imagine the mindset of people of the early 70s. So mom being a widow and always used to wear a white sari. I used to hate the color white. Because of that reason, still I hate. A white sari was not welcome in ceremonies or functions, even though neighbors used to invite us, just with an idea of getting a expensive gift, or maybe an envelope, a thick envelope. So this is what the situation, but they believed that, a widow's presence is very ominous. So when we go out walking, to the nearby store or temple, Mummy always, hide behind us if she sees someone is getting out to go somewhere. Okay, so that's the societal attitude. Like, it's very inauspicious to see as a widow when you're going for something, when you're going out. So I used to question my mom, why you are doing this? I mean, So I never understood, I mean, even today I didn't understood, because why this gender, or why these kind of customs and these things. But she accepted that this is a societal framework, and it's these absurd customs and false beliefs, and seeing a widow while you're getting out is inauspicious. I think she accepted that, but that was not her mission altogether. Anyways, our story is not built around these customs and beliefs. So let's move forward. So honestly, to be honest, even today, some part of Trivandrum, the pandemic cannot wipe out such evil people. I mean, there are still people who thinks that if you see a widow when you're getting out is a problem. Anyway, so these are the hailing from a well-to-do family and with a very fat bank balance and a fair amount of assets in Trivandrum, many of her relatives started controlling and trying to impose restrictions on the lifestyle, because she came from abroad, and that kind of lifestyle we need to maintain. The kids are accustomed to that, so that's even they have decided what we should eat for the breakfast and which school or medium we should join and the like. So this is what we Mallus are very good at, poking our nose into somebody else's life. So that's the thing. So we can sit in the gallery and say a lot of things. So when mom realized that these people are going to except her dad was a staunch supporter, she realized that this is the best way is to detach. So she started detachment. So the good thing happened of that detachment is three children got the best education, because my mom always believed that education will empower not only her daughter but the two sons as well. So that's the best thing happened. And that's the first story. So what she did is, even though she was a graduate, she could have easily picked up a job. She compromised that. I don't know whether that will happen nowadays. She compromised her happiness, her career, to take care of us, because we were so small at that time, because we were young and we were growing. So this is a typical let's say a representation of that era, where parents used to compromise or do a lot of things. Even in our culture, we do a lot of things. We save for our children. We don't go for any tools or something. Anyway, let's press fast forward and move a little forward, because she fought all the odds to give us the decent life and with all the comforts, even though she has to she lost her assets, she lost her gold. Because with no income coming in, the bank balance started shrinking, and a lot of things happened. But still, she made sure. She said, the best thing is you need to study well. So once you have that kind of an education, even though we are in Trivandrum, still we could do that. So that's what she did, and she never intervened, or she never questioned our passion, or she never interfered in our studies. Because, and even today, I believe that the good virtues I have, including respecting women, was ingrained by her. So this is one question. I mean, one thing, this should start from home. If you are a good son, you can be a good brother, you will be a good partner, you will be a good friend, you will be a good husband, you will be a good employee. Everything will come up. Okay, anyway, overprotective. She was very overprotective, and the problem is myself and my brother cannot even fall in love with anyone. So she that's why I call her chief emotional officer, the CEO of our home, because she played that emotion cards very well. Okay, whenever we have this kind of problem. Anyway, looking back, I admire most about her is that she believed that education is the key. Education is the most powerful tool, and this is one thing. Now let's move forward for the next person. Next person was my boss, and now I take you to Kuwait. She's an Arab, a woman, who, despite coming from not so well-off family background or circumstances, she reached the Kuwait Parliament as an MP. Okay, so that's just because of her energy, just because of her dynamism and determination to succeed. That's another thing. So our protagonist, or the hero, is a Kuwaiti citizen and who lost her dad when she was very young. And just for the record, throughout my career, most of my bosses were, women. So being the youngest in the family, she was controlled by her mom. That the culture has a lot of similarities with ours as well, and sometimes her uncles. Okay, so this is what happened, and the Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait happened in 1990, and then at that time she left. The entire family left to Lebanon, Beirut, where she enjoyed the outskirts of Beirut, and she came back after Kuwait was liberated and continued her studies, and she got graduated. After graduation, every Kuwaiti citizen will try to get into a government job, but she didn't do that. She wanted to work in a private sector, even though she didn't get any support from her family. She joined as an HR intern with the Carbide company, the Union Carbide, that Carbide company, and she was in the recruitment team. And along with, she kept on, even though nowadays people will say skilling, upskilling, and reskilling, she kept on, skilling herself, and then she joined a huge asset management company as a management consultant. So she was heading a consulting department there. That's where I started working under her, and then she could convince the board that this particular management consulting company can be spinned off into a separate company, and we can cater to other clients as well. And that was a success thing. And then this particular company started delivering quality deliverables that she ensured deliverables, and become as most sought out entity in Kuwait. Not only in Kuwait, we crossed the borders. We went to all the GCC countries. At that time, it was 6 GCC countries. Now Qatar is not in there. So GCC countries, and then we moved to MENA, the Middle East and North Africa. So this is a story. So after that business thing, and she started her own enterprise, being an entrepreneur, and then she thought of reaching out to the underprivileged women in Kuwait or the entire Arab countries. So for that, she entered politics. She contested in the elections, but twice she was defeated because of the ideology mismatch, the way she dresses and all. Anyway, so that's not our question. But third time she was lucky, and then her voice echoed in the Parliament of Kuwait. So this is how another woman from another era and another country, she came up because of her determination. She wanted to be successful. For these two people, they never thought about any boundaries, because even though there were biases around them, they never thought that boundaries can confine them. That's the best thing. So belief is very, very, very important. Very important. No ceilings could contain their determination and willpower. So there are many other women around us, many unsung heroes who through determination fought all odds and rise to heights in their respective domains. The fight will be there always, as we are living in a society where we have a binary mindset. That's the problem. I'm not going into that. I would suggest that we should stop talking or even thinking about ceilings or fences or boundaries. These are all chains that are meant to cage you. So stop shrinking to fit places you have already outgrown. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those powerful stories and examples to remind us that the belief has to come from within. I'll move on to Tiffany. Tiffany, you're an advocate, and I've heard you many times, but can still keep listening to you advocate for equality and opportunity and breaking some boundaries that that some of us are not even conscious about. And I'm wondering, as a woman, how do you feel fighting these battles? And what can we do better to include and break these boundaries along with you? Tiffany, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you for your question. I'll just
Yes.
start my video for a short time. So thank you, everyone. I'm very, very happy to join the session today. I could not join in person because I had to travel to Delhi to receive the Nari Shakti Puraskar from the president. So now coming back to the answer. Coming back to the answer, the challenges that I have gone through is immense. As a woman with a disability, you have to go through a lot of challenges. It starts from the doorstep. It starts from just being existent in the world. like traveling by yourself. How can you travel by yourself being blind? That was the first battle I had to fight from my father and my caregivers, my well-wishers, people in the shops, the bus conductors, the ladies in the buses. After 6 o'clock, when I used to go home from work, they would say, "Ratre evide pone ee kochu? Where is this girl going in the night?" And they would be going. And who is saying this? It's women. So you have to really fight with a lot of resilience. I used to answer them calmly, patiently, and confidently that yes, I'm going back home from work. And even if I am going to have dinner with a friend, what's the problem? Of course, like one of our previous speakers said that yes, there are a lot of bad events taking place in the city, but we should be careful. And yes, we should not travel after a certain time. Yes, but if we travel at a reasonable time, we should not be made fun of. And this is a big challenge that I've been facing. This is a very big challenge. And I've also been facing the challenge of being a woman with a disability, not being allowed to express our opinions, not being allowed to advocate for inclusion. There are many voices that are being unheard, and we try to fight this battle through the Jyotirgamaya Foundation, which not only empowers blind people through access technology, but it also empowers blind people, especially girls and women, to stand up for their rights, to learn about the Rights of Persons with Disability Act, to learn what is entitled to us. For example, accessibility. Article 9 of the UNCRPD mentions accessibility. The RPWD Act mentions accessibility 48 times. Chapter 6 of the RPWD Act talks about inclusive education. There is also the United Nations Convention of discrimination against women and children. There are so many conventions, but how do we fight these battles? Is that by talking to government officials, by going to any event possible, by raising our voices, even if it's for a split second. Yesterday, I had the Honorable Prime Minister, the opportunity to speak a few words to the Honorable Prime Minister, and I did not lose the opportunity. I seized it with my both hands, and I spoke about the currency note issue. There are no braille symbols, and even if there are braille symbols, they are not very visible. They are not tactile enough for blind people to recognize. And also the inaccessibility of roads, the inequality that women with disabilities are facing from their guardians, parents. So wherever you get an opportunity, we just have to raise our voices. That is how I've been fighting battles, by raising voices, by talking to people, by my resilience, by being confident. And I'm not perfect. I do get stressed. I do get overwhelmed. I do get bogged down by all these comments, stereotypes, no help from the government, a lot of problems. Sometimes I do get bogged down, but now I think that I'm going to rise up again.
Wow. Okay, Tiffany, this is exactly why it's so beautiful to listen to you, how much power you bring with all your thoughts. And, we just want to say that we want to fight along with you, and let us know how we can. All of us here are listening to you and realizing that boundaries are there especially for people who are fighting with these disabilities, and we really need to fight along with you. Thank you so much. From Tiffany, I would like to move now to Professor Raghu Raghavan. Thank you. Sir, I'm overwhelmed with the work that you're doing in mental health literacy. It is absolutely critical in our current society. What do you see as the gender boundaries when it comes to mental health, and what can we do about this?
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. It's a sunny day here, sunny and cold day in the UK. So sorry about the picture. I think I got a big light glaring into my study. But anyway, thank you for inviting me, and pleasure to be in this group of people in this great discussion on equality, rights, inclusion, and breaking the barriers. Mental health, mental illness, like Tiffany mentioned about disability, mental illness is also considered as a disability. And people often think about it in a different, very negative way. And especially women, there is a great danger in relation to them being labeled with mental illness, the same as men as well, but I think even more negative attitude towards that. And I think our work in Kerala are speaking to nearly over 240 people, both men and women, in urban, rural, and tribal communities. We wanted to understand how people construct culturally acceptable mental health literacies, because mental health is not mental illness. When we talk about mental health, everybody talks about mental illness. It is first of all important in the Kerala context, where the so-called literacy rate is so high. But we find it that very few people understand what mental health is all about in the Kerala context. Especially with young women, middle-aged women, and older women, it is equally the case. And in many cases, women are the carers, family carers for both men and also other members of the family who might be actually experiencing some mental health condition. So the stigma, negative attitude, how the society wholly looks upon those people is actually something that is widely prevalent in a so-called state where the educational levels are pretty high. But very little social understanding, very little understanding about some of the things that actually works around them in terms of society, culture, values, and dignity, and all those kind of contexts. So mental health literacy does not necessarily mean just mental health awareness. Mental health literacy is actually very much important from a health education perspective, whereby one has to understand what is mental health, one has to understand what are the mental health conditions that one might actually affect, and one has to understand what are the ways of seeking help for these things, and one has to understand what are the kind of knowledgeable and kind of interventions that could be portrayed here in terms of help-seeking things, and about the stigma and attitudes of people that might be governing towards this. And also the kind of information that is actually available for people in terms of better understanding of those things. And finally, most importantly, how culture, religion, our cultural heritage actually influences some of those things around thinking more and also helps some of those things. What we find is that mental health literacies, people, especially women who actually hold a number of mental health literacies, is actually quite crucial. And that is not superstition. You could actually see a psychiatrist, you could actually see a psychologist, you could actually see an astrologer, you could actually go to the temple, church, or mosque and offer things as well. All these things are equally important in terms of mental health and well-being. And it should not be considered superstitious to actually do some of those things. So I think it's important that one makes sense of this, one makes meaning out of those things. And a crucial factor here is also in terms of the urban, some of the rural communities and the tribal communities, in terms of domestic violence. Sorry to bring up this thing. One of the issues that we actually found is actually domestic violence in many of those cases where women experience either because of alcohol issues connected with men. But God hasn't given the right for men to actually go and beat up women. And I think that should be tackled effectively. That's where we need to break the barriers in terms of how women need to come forward and then trying to tackle this head-on issue. It is not something that needs to be ignored in this civilized world. Civilization is not about having an iPhone or anything else. Civilization is about how we actually engage in fearless talk and how we can tackle some of those issues head on. And I think how dignity, equality, and inclusion is actually well respected throughout whichever gender that is actually that actually prevails. It's actually very important that actually we tackle the conflict issue in that context, and also how we can actually help people to come forward and address some of those issues in the right sense. I think that's where the mental health angle might actually come in, and I think it's very much important that people understand that from the health and also from the condition perspective, it's something that can be helped, and that people can actually lead an ordinary life with mental illness or without mental illness. I think it's very much important for that to understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Definitely, you've raised a very important point of mental health literacy being so important, especially in the current context. And you've also touched upon domestic violence, and it's quite interesting how you talked about civilization, and really interesting that we're talking on it in a time when there's a war going on as well. I mean, just the irony of the whole thing, right? But at the same time, we have to do what we have to do. I'm really glad that Me Help is trying to break these boundaries, talking about mental health, and reaching out to more women to take care of their mental health, because as you said, they are primary caregivers in most contexts. So if they are not taking care of their health, imagine what's going to happen to society. So as a continuation, I would like to now call upon Blessy. Blessy, you are a mental health volunteer, MHAT volunteer, and you have a story how you reached this path of becoming a volunteer. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, since being on the path of recovery, and what you'd like others to do when they need help. I think this is a great initiative to try and reach out to more women. So please share with us what you think.
Am I audible?
Perfect.
Hi all, thanks for inviting me to this wonderful event, and I'm so honored to have the opportunity to share my recovery journey to all of the amazing persons out there. So I hope my story reveals some of the boundaries I faced and how I overcame it. Okay. So I completed my BTech graduation in 2010 from Cochin University. After that, I got married and I was doing fine with my part-time teaching job as well as my family life. Everything was fine and everything felt good and peaceful. So at the age of 28, I have become the mother of two angels, the little one being a few months old. At that time, life took an emotional toll on me. At first, I thought it was just some kind of mood swings. Then, as each day passed by, my life became harder and harder. I couldn't recognize happy faces or encouraging words, even though there were a lot of happy moments happening in my life. I couldn't see any feeling, or I couldn't feeling any happiness at all. Slowly, I forgot how to smile, how to cry, how to talk, and how to live. I even forgot who I was. It was like feeling dead inside, even when you are breathing. Imagine yourself falling into a deep and invisible, never ending pit in which there is no sound, no light, no smell, and nothing at all. And you feel like you have lost all of your senses. And imagine being there alone for so many days without anyone noticing that you are lost. This was my experience when I was hit with the harsh reality of postpartum depression, otherwise known as PPD. But the most painful part was nobody could understand what I was going through. When I tried to explain about the numbness I feel inside, I got advices like eat well, drink more, pray more, laugh more, worry less, don't think at all. There are so many good things in your life to be happy about. So you have no right to be sad at all. It's like telling some person with asthma that breathe, there's a lot of air outside. So I stopped opening up. I felt lonely and also rejected. Sleepless nights and meaningless days were followed by even the simple tasks like getting up from bed, brushing, replying to text or calls, all felt very tiring to me. Gradually, I started hearing some voices inside my head, like, go and die. You have nothing to do in life. It's better to die than to live. It's more easier to die. You are a bad mother. You are a bad wife. You are a bad student. You are a burden to others, and you are ruining others' happiness also. So I contacted my gynecologist. She was a very good support during my pregnancy time and my childbirth. So I called her and shared my condition to her. And she replied to me, eat healthy and sleep well. Take calcium tablets if needed. Okay. Then also I felt rejected. Then I approached a mental health center itself, where they asked some questions like, are you facing any domestic violence at home? Is your husband having any extramarital affairs, or is he an alcoholic or abusive? Or are you facing any dowry problems? Are your in-laws problematic? When I answered no to those questions, they said, then you're fine, you can go home. You can't have any mental health issues. It's all in your head. You are just a sensitive person and attention seeker. I felt unheard most at that time in my life, again and again. And then at that day, I wrote all of my feelings into a piece of paper and showed that piece of paper to my family, especially my husband. And I was referred to a wonderful psychotherapist. At first, the long psychotherapy session seemed hard to me due to the catharsis process involved. Slowly, I returned to my life. I started with simple steps like writing a journal, taking a walk, and getting a haircut. Medicines were used to get proper sleep also. I attended weekly therapy sessions and practiced proper breathing techniques and relaxation techniques also. Slowly, with the help of my family and my therapist, proper medication, I got this feeling I can survive this. Then some questions came in my mind. Even though we are living in a well-educated society, why couldn't I, myself, or my dear ones couldn't understand or identify the warning or early symptoms of depression or any mental health issue? In future, if anyone go through a similar situation and ask me, whom should I ask for help? I don't know. How many people must be out there silently suffering just because of the stigma towards mental health? What about those who can't afford a therapy? It was then my great therapist introduced me to MHAT. MHAT is an NGO led by Dr. Manoj Kumar, which provides free and quality mental health support to the poorest of the poor in our community. MHAT enabled me to more about mental health and how to break the stigma around seeking professional help for mental issues. I'm currently a proud volunteer at MHAT. Also, I'm currently pursuing my master's in psychology also. Recently, I joined Trias as an intern, which is an AI-enabled healthcare company. It was indeed a wonderful opportunity to enter the IT sector at an age 32. Then, because I am curious about the scope of IT in psychology. The hardship I went through, the days I lived in numbness made me who I am today. To those who are going through this or who know someone who is going through this phase in life, know that mental illness are real as physical illness. It's not your imagination. It needs proper intervention. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness. Please be gentle with oneself and with each other without judging. If we could talk about mental health more openly or include even in our school curriculum, more people can be aware of onset of mental illness problems and seek help before things getting worse. I hope my story has been helpful, and also also as an end note, I would say, if you have a heartbeat, there is still time for your dreams. Thank you.
Actually, I'm out of words. Thank you so much for sharing your story with all of us so genuinely and so transparently, because exactly as you said, it's important to get that voice out and heard. You have broken one boundary by seeking help, by expressing your thoughts, and I hope you go and break many more such boundaries. Leslie, you ended with technology, and I'm now going to focus to Professor Elizabeth Shirley. In our pre-connect, ma'am, I saw how passionate you are about using technology to remove some of these barriers, boundaries, biases. I know that you have some personal experiences working with some people. Would you please enlighten us how this is possible, what is going to happen, and how we can all be part of this movement?
Okay, thank you, Praditi, for introducing me. As you know, I am an academician and researcher. I have been doing research for the last 30 years and published many papers, produced PhD students. But when I come to, somewhere in my coming more,
Yeah.
Getting age, I just thought of, so what should I have given to the society? As a technologist, and I work for the artificial intelligence or so-called, disruptive technologies and all. But what exactly I can give to the society? So this is something. Then I found that there are a lot of girls and women who have got disabilities, so they are marginalized a lot. So whether they are a student or an employee, or that they travel, or even in the personal life or the married life, how can we help them? So that, see, this I have started some assistive technology development, and by the time that when Parvati Pavitran, she has approached me that she wanted to do PhD, and if I introduce her, she is deaf and partially disability for speak. Then actually I have taken an immediate action to include her in our research group and see how best we can do something for the society of deaf as well as the blind people. So now I have Parvati she has undergone this normal schooling and college. She has done her BTech in electrical engineering from College of Engineering, Trivandrum. Then he took her master's degree and qualified in NET. And she worked it in one of the companies in Technopark as an industry, and also worked it as an academician in niche. So now she is with me. And Parvati, are you here? Parvati, are you here? Can you hear me? Parvati?
Yes, she's coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, can you just elaborate on the challenges you have faced it during your life?
Talk about it. Thank you, ma'am, for the question. I was born with a hearing loss, but no one was aware of it at that time. And because I responded to somewhat everything. And when I joined the school, that is LKG, that at that time I was 3 years. And when a teacher called me from one side, I did not respond. Then she suspected hearing loss in me. And at that time, there were no institute which could identify hearing loss. And only an ENT doctor was there at that time. And I was taken to her and she confirmed me with hearing loss. And subsequently, I was taken to All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Mysore also. And that began my life journey with hearing aids. And from that time to still now, I am wearing hearing aid. Hearing aid at that time was of pocket type nature, and it was very difficult to wear that. Now, as years changed by, now it has become programmable digital hearing aid. Then regarding my education life, I studied in normal school and colleges along with my hearing peers. And no one was aware of my difficulties due to this hearing loss, because all through my education life, I was the only student in the class with the hearing disability. So when usually my the school authorities, what they do is they tell me to sit in front of the front bench. So always I was the front sitter and continuous looking at the teacher's face because I recognize speech by seeing the user's face, that is getting from their facial expressions. So continuous looking at the teacher's face usually caused me great strain to me. And so I would miss something because I could not continuously focus like this. So I would miss something. Then there was a turning point in my life. That is when I was in standard 3. I went to school at IIT Madras. I got this opportunity as my father was doing PhD there, IIT Madras. And then I studied in Vanamani Matriculation High School in class 3 and 4. So the main highlight was that the students from all over India speaking different languages were my companions. And so we communicated in a common language, that is English. So my English language increased to a greater extent. Then after the school life also, this dictation, note taking, etc. was a hurdle for me. So what I did was, I usually sat next to a girl with a good handwriting so that I could copy the notes. There was no internet or smartphone at that time. All we have books only. Then came my college life, and I studied in College of Engineering, Trivandrum. There what happened is it was not like school life because there were so many students in one class. And also there was no teachers do not give notes. So we have to know internet was there. And so what all we could do is to depend on the library books. So I used to go to library books and make the short notes myself and then study it like that. After this college life, I attended a 3-month training program, and from there I got a job in a reputed company in Technopark. And the challenges at workplace, that is, I got the job through campus placement, and the main challenge at this workplace was that group meetings usually happens. So one-to-one conversation is fine for me. But when during group meetings, sounds coming from one direction, then another person will be talking, so many confusion. So in corporate world, usually group meetings happens every time. And this was really a strain for me. And so after working there for 2 years, when I got an opportunity to join as project assistant at National Institute of Speech and Hearing, which is an institute for the rehabilitation of the deaf and hard of hearing, I joined them. And subsequently, there was diploma courses, especially for the hard of hearing then, and I started teaching that. And then when degree courses came, I started teaching for that also. And now I'm working as a faculty then. And as part of doing research, when I got this to do research, I joined Digital University. And I am currently doing research there. Then another talent that is why while traveling. That is traveling, it is usually difficult for deaf persons to travel alone, especially when they can't talk also. So they can't talk, then no one will be able to understand where they are going. But now there is assistive technology like we can use, for example, smartphone. And so that travel problem is not very difficult like earlier days. But I remember an incident which happened in my life, that is, I was in staff in charge of bad at NIST, and I escorted them to Hyderabad as part of the study tour. And when I reached there, a call came from home that my father-in-law passed away, and so I had to return back to Kerala soon. And it was so in my early morning. I came to the airport, but there was no person to assist me or like that in that airport. So I directly went inside, and it was for the first time I was traveling alone in flight. So, and along with this, the other sad news also, both was affecting my mind. And when I went there, I talked to the officials that I'm a person with hearing loss, and so you kindly help me when the time of this flight like that. So she told me to sit there, but I was restless whether I might miss the flight because it is a connection flight that is from Hyderabad to Chennai and from Chennai to Trivandrum. So I was very worried, and then I saw a TV there. In this TV, these flight timings were displayed, and some minutes later, so I sat glued in front of the TV. So it was really a challenge for me to travel because announcements were there at the airport, but I am not able to identify it. Then that is when I look back, I am satisfied that I have I have achieved up to this because I was fortunate enough because I got this language on speech because the timely early intervention, correct early intervention I got. That is, I went for speech therapy sessions. Speech therapy sessions was there at that time. That is in Trivandrum. So I attended that, and gradually my speech improved a lot. And that is why I could talk to you like this. Then, and regarding my family members are very supportive, and my parents, then my brother and family, my husband and daughter. And daughter is studying in class 8, and she is very helpful for me. And my husband is doing business. So, what I have to say is, if you have a dream to chase, we can achieve it. That is all. But any obstacles, we can remove that. That is what I can say. So, with all this, I am concluding my talk. Thank you.
Okay,
Ma'am, you want to
thank you, Parvati, for telling your stories. So, in fact, this is the real scenario that we are facing. Deaf, and even Tiffany has mentioned about that there is no government support. This is where I wanted to concentrate more on. This is this women and the child, they are facing a lot of marginalization, and wherever they, especially when they do travel. So my question is that my argument is that there are two things when they are in schools or colleges. So here, when we have universities or colleges, what we provide is a ramp and a barrier-free toilet. Other than that, there is no other services or facilities provided for the disabled things. Compared to international universities or abroad, so they have a lot of facilities they are providing, and it's not at all difficult for them to leave. But that is not the situation in Kerala or in India. So how do we address this problem? That is a major concerns I have. Do they have support from the society? Do they have one thing I need to concentrate for the disability people, and when they travel? See this Parvati, she has explained her story when she was in the Hyderabad airport. So when we go to the railway station, or we are in the road, or where we are in the aerodrome, do they have any support on this? So this is something very seriously addressed in today's world. That's why I have also, taken some pain to do some assistive technologies for the blind as well as the deaf children. Parvati is also doing for how best we can develop assistive technology and the research on this deaf and also the speech. The speech is also, because as she has mentioned, the early intervention is very, very important, very significant for that. So many of the things we didn't understand. We didn't know that even the parents doesn't wanted to have such kind of mindset also, even though they have, realized some of the, activities like that, but they don't feel that, okay, my child has got such a problem. So this will last it for some time, and that's the time they will miss the bus. So the thing is that the early intervention is very important for that. We should have assistive technology tools and devices to, understand whether they have any problem and a kind of diagnosis into that. So nowadays, thanks to technology, we can do more on the assistive technology tools, and even we have developed a small puzzle for blind children, where they can put this puzzles in their own way without any assistance. Normally, parents or somebody has to assist for them putting the cat or a dog or anything, but with these small devices, they can do it as their own. So like this, we will be doing some, kind of devices for the blind as well as the deaf, and also for the speech technology. So we have to understand their disability, and especially for, the women and child, that they are more marvelous than with the disabilities with the men, because other than that, they have a lot of abuse, harassment, and neglection and all. And many of them have lost, they are not able to get education properly. So only a few of them have come forward because of their struggle, their painful hard work, and the support of the parents. But other than that, as a society, as a government side, we need to do a lot on that. So some strategic decisions or some policy has to be in place for putting them into a better life.
I'm honestly humbled and honored that I had the opportunity to moderate such a panel discussion. I know we started the day, I'm sure all of you would have started the day with a lot of women, happy Women's Day, you all are strong, you all are brave, you all are bold, those kind of messages. But we have a long way to go. And these lived experiences, tell us how much more we have to do to include everyone in our society. So, in fact, I'm part of We Women Inclusive in Technology, and we went through a name change last year. And I remember very clearly, while we were going through the name change, we were also thinking, what are we going to do differently? How are we going to focus our energies? We are women, but we are also going to include more. And that is why this panel discussion was so important for us in our future. Creating the future, because we're not just talking about women, we're talking about women and all these challenges that are happening in society. How do we bring that together? And ma'am, I think you kind of wrapped it up very nicely with the fact that we now have the advantage of technology. So for all the individuals listening to this, each of you can commit to do something more for women and for the people who are going through mental health issues or other disabilities. How do we support them? Can you all commit to one action going forward from today? And also to organizations, all of you are looking for causes to sponsor. Here is an apt cause. Please use your power to bring more technology to include the marginalized into society. And with that, I'd like to conclude. I really, really am happy, thankful to all the panelists for bringing their thoughts together here on this very important discussion of how do we break the boundaries beyond just the gender that we always talk about. Thank you very much. And in conclusion, I have nothing else to say, but hats off to all the work that all of you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a very enlightening session. Thank you so much, all the participants, for engaging in such a lively discussion. Then I call Mainak Sen, a student representative, to speak a few words.
Good evening to everybody present here. So I'm having the opportunity to speak here, so that's a good thing. So action speaks louder than words. So for the remaining of the 364 days, what our actions are, that will really determine the future. So for the remaining 364 days, we must refrain ourselves from all the derogatory and all the monotonous dialogues that may come out spontaneously without knowing, because we have been born and brought up in a men's world, you know. So for that, we must refrain ourselves from all those things and try to implement them for the remaining 364 days. And also who have reached that level, like they have understood that no, women are also equal to men. They have also the right. They can also achieve everything in life, maybe more greater than men. So that is their sole responsibility to spread the message to everybody for the remaining 364 days, because that is very important. So that's very important, like spreading the message is very important. So to conclude, I will say that happy Women's Day to everybody present. May God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mainak. But certainly, I call upon Meena to enlighten us with her words.
Good evening, all who are present here. First of all, a happy Women's Day to all the women here. And we had such a wonderful session. And as a woman, today I learned a lot of things and I learned a lot of new perspectives. Now, when I look at some women who is struggling in my neighborhood, I'll look at them in a different way. And that this section were really helpful for that. And we know we have a lot of women around us who go through mental health issues. We have women who are stopped education because once you reach a menstruation age, I have gone to a village as part of my college outreach program, and I have seen women, girl children getting dropped out of school because they had to go through a natural cycle. So now I certainly believe that I will make sure that my voice is heard. I will make sure that I work for these people who are not getting enough opportunity in the society, and this is just a starting step for us, and we have a long way to go, and hope we can achieve it with this wonderful atmosphere here, and we can help all the women out there who are really struggling. So once again, a happy Women's Day, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to say this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meena. That was really wonderful. Now we are moving towards the end of today's session. So I'd like to call upon Dr. Sinu Susan Thomas, and to wrap our session, without whom this event would have been nigh impossible. So, ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. And my duty is to give thanks to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Gopinath. As Professor Shirley said, he's the one who encourages us in all our aspects right from the day he has joined this campus. And I thank him to bless us with his words. Of course, Professor Shirley, she's the master brain behind all these. She is a woman who, when I joined this campus, everybody said, just go to her because you're a woman, and things will be done. So that's the way she takes care of each and every one of us here. Thank you, Professor Shirley, for giving us the support to take this forward. And then I would like to thank all my speakers, all the guests who have come online. And specifically, I would like to thank Roshan. She is quote and unquote, I should say, civil servant, a servant. A proper servant. You call her, she'll call you back, thrice. I just called her once, and till yesterday she was calling me. A true servant, and she's known as the Iron Lady of UP. Yes, she is. She is a true epitome of power and beauty and elegance. Yeah, I thank Roshan to be our speaker, and then I thank Professor Mini Shaji Thomas. Professor Celia, since we wanted to inaugurate, IEEE Women chapter, Women in Engineering chapter in the UK, so that we can start up the things here. I would like to thank Celia for, inaugurating that. And Manjeer, I called because she was my junior. I know the work she had done at Kanpur. So since we have a residential campus, I wanted her to share few of her thoughts, what she has undergone there, so that, unfortunately, we don't have our students, so that our students can hear and can take the lessons out of it. Thank you, Manjeet. And of course, yes, the panel discussion. We thank Women Inclusive in Technology and ME Help India for gracing us with this occasion. And thank you all the speakers, Tiffany and Rajat, professor from UK, and Blessy for her wonderful, experiences. And then last but not the least, I would like to thank, the team who had worked with us, Malu for arranging all the, panel discussion. And of course, yes, I should thank these girls. And yes, Arun, why don't you stand up? You guys are having your exams and they were like, ma'am, we'll study after this. Now we'll go coolly, we will study. And really thankful to all the students. We don't have people here, but I'm really thankful to Bhargavi, Meena, Saira, Arun for preparing all the, posters. I'm really thankful to all of you and thank you all for joining. So it was a long session, but yeah, it was. But it was indeed, a holistic perspective from, different type of women who are undergoing, different position, who had different problems and how they embraced all those problems. So thank you all once again and hope to see next year. And as Manik said, we'll continue this throughout, next 364 days.